Hello, dears. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Coaches. And I'm coming to you today from the wonderful hallway outside my office at Wells because I cannot get internet in there. So excuse me if anybody happens to walk by. Hi, Corey. Hi, Al.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Hey. So today we are going to talk about what do we do if we happen to go remote? And we would like to first preface by saying, no, we don't know anything. We have no insider information. We just want you to be prepared.
That's
All
right.
right. So, guys, what wonderful advice do we have? What nuggets and wisdom can we share?
Oh, so much.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
And I think keeping in mind that we have done this before, we survived the spring, we will survive this too. So keep that in mind. And then there was something that I read, maybe it was in a webinar that I attended, where they said, I think it was our book talk that we are educators, right? This is not new. How we're delivering it is new, but you all are masters of educating children, and that is still what we're doing. We're just changing the platform. So don't forget what you already know, because that's going to help you.
I love that, Corey. That's awesome. It's so true. It doesn't change the fact that we're all educators. It does. It just changes where we're doing it and how we're doing it. And I think if everybody could just remember exactly how amazing they are, then and nobody's looking for perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. And I think that's a big piece too.
So I kind of created a brainstorm of thinking about like things that we should keep in mind for preparing for remote, or if we go remote. And I think keeping in mind that remote teaching is still teaching. And so all of those things that you do when you are getting ready to start a new school year, that you want to kind of keep those exact same things in mind. So, when we start a new school year, we are setting expectations with our students. We're practicing routines. We are explicitly teaching how to use different tools around the classroom and manipulatives. And when we change our environment, I think we need to, it's almost like starting over again, right? You need to reteach routines. You need to reset expectations. You need to reteach all those tools and things like that. And I think what is great is that there's a lot of that stuff that we can start doing now. Any of those tech tools that you think, that you're like, oh, well, if we go remote, I will use this. Start teaching them now. Start implementing them into your curriculum and into your instruction now.
Agreed. And I think that's one of the pieces that's going to be easiest to do that is those that have been already using Google Classroom or Seesaw, because they have already taught their students how to go find things, find assignments, find meetings, when we're remote on Wednesdays. So these students know how to do this already. And this is where we're at an advantage over where we were in March, right? Where it was just like, really, we were making this up as we go along. You are more prepared and your students are more prepared than you actually think they are, or you are. And we're in really good shape just to make a natural transition. I think back to some of the conversations that we had when we went back, when we were in March and we had to go remote, and there were some concerns over equity and students not being able to log on or join meetings and that sort of things. What advice do we have? And Corey, I might be turning to you for this because I did read your brainstorm sheet. That that for that equity piece and for the students that can't log on time or they can't get their internet to work, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're already at an advantage in that I think we are 1-to-1 in every single school, which I don't think we necessarily were back in the spring. We were close, but now I think we're truly 1-to-1. So students have the device, at least. Internet might be another issue. But so for, I was thinking, I think there's going to be a lot more live teaching and a lot more face-to-face this way, virtual with students if we have to go remote. But you're probably still going to have those kiddos who, for whatever reason, can't log on for live instruction because parents work and daycare may be an issue. So I was thinking that if you are teaching in a virtual, like in a Google Meets, use Screencastify and change the view settings of your Google Meet so that it's only your face that's being shown or your screen so that you don't see that grid view, and use Screencastify to record that lesson. And then, you could always reach out to a coach, or if you're really familiar with WeVideo, you can always go into WeVideo to edit out any student that may pop in there, or we can help you with that. But that saves you from having to pre-record lessons and then teach lessons live and things like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And a second thing I might think about too, in the event that we had to go remote and there were students who didn't have access to good internet, let them know where they can get access to good internet. I think the last time we turned on free guest access in most of our schools so you could at least sit in a parking lot and have internet access there. I realize it's winter and it's cold. Another alternative might be to think of some alternative assignments that could be given that would cover the same learning. I know that's a little bit more work, but we do have to keep some of those students in mind. There are people who just live in places where internet access is difficult, and we need to plan and prepare for that.
And Al, I think that lends itself really well to thinking about like hands-on learning and project-based learning. Mm-hmm. That I think when we think virtual, I think a lot of it is thinking of technology and, computer time, but how can we take learning and how can we make it more applicable to students that's maybe away from the screen?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, too much screen time isn't healthy for anybody, and we all agree with that. But that's where different, these alternative assignments can be very valuable in that regard.
Yeah, and it's that asynchronous piece that we've been talking about all along, right? So, how can students show their learning, and what learning can they do without being in front of the camera all the time or in front of the screen all the time? Yeah. Awesome. There's tons and tons of resources too on this sort of thing. We have modules. We have some other like print resources, and Tarrant just put out another webinar yesterday that unfortunately I didn't get to go to. I was really excited about it. But my guess is they'll be putting a recording out on that, or if there'll be something in their blog. And it was in regards to menus and hybridocs and how we can use those. And there's just so much out there, and we can go through later too after this episode today and put some links in for everyone. I want to say in the coaches newsletter, did we share some tips, or we can in the next one maybe?
Yeah, I don't know if we have already, but we definitely can for the next one.
Yeah, I think that might be. And there's a quote that I have in my brain all the time that I love to share, and that is the greatest PD that you have is the teacher down the hall. So you all have amazing ideas. You all have strategies that work for you, that work so well. Share them out. If you want to share it with one of us, and then we can put links in it in the newsletter, or give us your ideas so that others can share what works.
So Jenny, I think in our planning, you had brainstormed some questions, and one of the questions that you brainstormed that I thought was really good, and I bet is on a lot of teachers' minds, is how do I keep my students focused and listening during, I'm going to assume, a remote lesson or a Google Meet. So I think we could brainstorm some ideas for teachers, because I bet that's one of the biggest frustrations.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm especially thinking of the younger students, because I've heard lots of teachers the last time that we had to go fully remote, and it was, I have kindergartners. I can hold their attention for about 2 minutes. What do I do when they run away? Or what do I do when they stand up and they don't have any clothes on? That sort of thing. And I think part of that is what you said earlier, Corey, about expectations, right? So setting those expectations, talking about them, discussing them. And you don't need to stay on for long periods of time. Make it short little bursts. Pre-record things and send the videos out. They don't need to be live with you all the time. There's so many ideas that way, right? And it starts with setting expectations and thinking outside of the box. So
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking about you were talking about pre-recording lessons, and some of the suggestions that I've seen out there are that your lessons where your students are going to be passive learners, right? Where it's more of a lecture style, pre-record those for students. Make it more of a flipped model where they're getting some of that instruction that they just need to listen to ahead of time on their own time. And then they come back during live time, and it should be interactive and engaging and collaborative. And, questions with student responses. And I know for our little guys, this suggestion might be a little bit more difficult, but I saw a teacher that recommended using the chat box. I think so often we get frustrated at our students for chatting with each other in that box and we want it turned off. But what if we flipped that and used it to our advantage, where you ask the kids a question and they have to respond in the text box?
That's a great idea. Yeah. I think for our beginning readers or early readers, that the chat box might not be as good of an option, but I do think that there's still other ways that we can make that work.
Yeah, teach them signals, just like they're supposed to raise their hand in class. Teach them a signal to be able to speak, and instead of asking questions for the text box, it can be verbal.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, there's so many good ideas out there.
Should we talk about tech tools? I mean, I know everybody loves a good tech tool.
Well, we have one of my favorites is the Jamboard. I like Jamboard. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's easy for students too. And I think that that's a great way to be collaborative. And one issue that I've had lots of people say that they have problems with is the kids want to go in and move other kids' sticky notes or write on them and move them, change their color and that sort of thing. But again, we're talking about setting expectations, right? It's a new tool. It's just like if you were a kindergarten teacher and you're not going to get your scissors out until you learn how to safely use scissors. It's the same thing. These are the expectations for Jamboard. That's the one off the top of my head. Oh, we have some questions and comments. So Raylene asked, well, first Raylene says that she likes that this is not approved by GRCSU. YouTube, go figure. And she also asked, do you have any tips or extensions for closed captioning in Google Meets or WeVideo? Ooh.
And I want to say that it's possible. I'd have to look into it, though. I want to say it's possible, though.
What I don't remember, I thought that in Google Meet there was a one-click option to turn on captioning within Meet.
Yes.
I don't know, however, if that was in the Enterprise
Yeah.
edition or
I
not.
I
But
don't think so.
know,
I think we have access. I mean, we can double check, but I think we do because I was in a Meet the other day and somebody was pointing out the closed captioning feature.
and I also know that Google Slides provides a closed captioning option. So if you're presenting in Google Slides and turn that on, Google Slides will give you captions.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and as far as WeVideo goes, I'd have to do a little more research
Yeah.
than the quick Googling I can do right now. I'd have to go in to actually look at it. I know you can add text to WeVideo, but I mean, that would be really time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love that question. And Raylene, I'm wondering if what you're thinking of, why do you want the closed captioning? Like what thought process do you have? What ideas do you have to use that closed captioning? Because that sends me in a million different directions. I love it. And Lisa says hand signals are such a great tool in person and remotely. So true. So true. I think, is it in the first 6 weeks that it talks about even like hand signals when you like thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, all of those nonverbal cues are great to use.
Yeah. And many of these things are the same things we would use in a live classroom anyway. They're, you know, what's different is we're moving it to a digital platform. But
Right.
just because it looks a little different doesn't mean those same tools won't work.
Right. Right. Lisa says a teacher at Rutland Town School the other day had students experiment with Jamboard the first time, using it so they could have a little fun, learn the tools, and then talk about expectations. It was very effective.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's something that's been on my mind in the last few days with this, with the numbers going up and the testing we're about to do tomorrow. We don't obviously know what's going to happen in the future, but just every so often, if you're feeling a little antsy about it, you know, make sure to go over with your class. Here's the way we would handle things remotely. I mean, we do that on Wednesdays anyway, but go over those expectations again, even if you've already done it the first 6 weeks of school. Just remind your students what those expectations are. Remind them about the tech tools that you will be using. Refreshers are never a bad thing, even if we don't end up using them. If there ever was a reason, then at least it's not something that we covered way back in September and now it's January and all of a sudden we have to use it. You know, just keep bringing it up every so often and,
Yeah.
you know, keep it fresh on people's minds.
Yeah.
And that helps your students, really.
Raylene
And it
said
helps you too.
yeah. Yeah. Raylene says that she found it in Google Meet. So the closed captioning is in Google Meet. And then we will look into WeVideo and get out to everyone. Well, for some of those other great questions that I was thinking of, Corey.
you know, there's like way more, I think, than we could cover
Oh yeah.
right now. So I think what we should do is we can like summarize everything that we talk about today, as well as a few other thoughts and suggestions, and just kind of put out like a at a glance guide for teachers to look over. So
Yeah, we could definitely. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And again, if any of you have thoughts, ideas that work for you, that you like, please share those with us so that we could share with other people too.
Do we have somewhere a list of digital tools that teachers could familiarize themselves with and use? Is that something
Yes.
available?
So actually, Al, it's funny that you bring that up. I just finished this. I know it was something that we had talked with Lisa about a while ago. And then I had one of the coaches here at Proctor mention something to me about it. So I've actually been working on something. Let me share my screen here for a sec. Okay. So I created this right here, digital tools that are available in GRCSU. And you have all of the things that we pay for, Seesaw, Lexia, Dreambox. I know Google Classroom is part of our G Suite, but because it's something that's that we're supposed to all be using this year, I put it with the paid stuff. And all you have to do is click on one. It's going to talk to you about what it is, who has access to it, and then it gives you a few places to get started to learn more about it. And then let's see, and then I have the free ones that I think that we as coaches have talked about quite a bit. So you've got Jamboard in there, Khan Academy, Class Dojo, Newsella, a bunch of things. And same thing, click on it. We tell you what it is. We give you a couple ideas for how you can use this in your classroom for instruction and for engagement with students, and then point you in the direction of some additional resources to learn more about it. So we will get this, we'll link it below this video once we're done with the live stream, and then we can link this right on to the website. So it's like perfect timing. I just finished it today.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. You're great.
I'm like so excited about it.
This is so good. Well, a lot of people have been asking about that sort of thing, right? So that's awesome. And Lisa says, great resource, Corey. Thank you for pulling it together. Yes, thank you.
Yes, this is awesome. Like my techie side coming through. I love that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But then I also I was thinking suggestions for teachers with tech. There was so much out there in the springtime available for teachers. Like everybody was putting their stuff out there for free. And I think it became overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So I think we've tried to narrow it down to stuff that would be really effective, because a lot of stuff, has similar uses. But some advice for teachers is choose the best tool for your needs and stick with it. There is a lot out there, and it will become overwhelming for you, for your students, and for your parents if you are continuously introducing new things every week. So find something that works and stick to it. And I think we've already mentioned, but start integrating this stuff now. I think your best practices are things that you could do regardless of your environment.
Yes. Awesome. I don't think there's any other questions or comments that we missed. All right. Are there any last thoughts that we want to share before we go?
I don't know if this is a last thought or not, but I'd like to say that digital resource, the Google Slides, it's a great example of a set of interactive Google Slides used to convey a good amount of information, but that format could be tailored to all sorts of learning opportunities within a classroom too. Anything can be linked in Google Slides. Students can do choose your own adventures and all that sort of thing with a unit lesson using that format. So nicely done.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, it was all created in Google Slides and then just published to the web. Like once you learn how to do that, really easy and really fun.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot with Google Slides too, and learning how to make my own boom cards, and different activities like drag and drop activities that can be made. and creating some resources for GRCSU, and then doing some how to do this yourself videos. So those are coming soon too. And that's all Google Slides. There's so much that you can do just in that one resource. You're so right, Al.
So I guess parting comments. Remember what I said at the beginning, don't panic. We've done this before. We can do it again. There are coaches available to assist you if you need help. That's us. And I do know there are still, as far as taking equipment home and thing, if you need equipment at home, there are cameras, microphones, and that sort of thing available from the tech department. If you need it, please ask for it. And we'll make sure we can get you what you need.
Yeah, and on that same note, what the equipment that you have, bring it with you. Bring your tripod home. Bring your camera home. Bring those things home, and you can help. Those can help set up things so you can do pre-recordings and live streaming, and make sure you have access to those things. And I just want to say it again. Just remember that none of this is perfect. Perfection's not a real thing, and we just have to remember that we already are giving our students everything, right? You've got this, they've got this, and just remember not to put more pressure on yourself.
And remember that, I mean, you are already doing this, a teacher in person, a teacher online. You are a teacher and you've got this.
Yes. And we love you all. And we think you're awesome.
We do.
All right. Well, thank you, Al and Corey. And thank you to our guest this week who asked questions. This was awesome. Thank you, Raylene and Lisa, and anybody else who's watching. And thank you to those that will be watching later. Please remember to reach out to us. We are here for you in any way that we can help. And have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.